as is to be expected.
Abdoulaye Seck. This is the earlier attempt.
Well struck, really.
Ooh, he was calling for the penalty appeal.
I think he was calling
now,
for that.
That's going to be looked at. We are going to see a penalty check off the ball, but does the referee believe that this was a foul? I am finding it very difficult to argue against that being considered anything but.
Me neither, because it looks like there's a tug.
Technical teams coming together as he looks at the replay again and again. He's made his decision. This could define history. Penalty! Rabat roars! And to be fair, I don't think that's the wrong call. I think the referee's got this right.
Neither do I.
But they played in a fifth final in which they scored. And that was just 2 years ago. Yellow card coming out for Ismaila Sarr, who protests vehemently. But imagine the pressure now on the penalty taker.
Tell me about it.
I mean, you have got the weight of 50 years on your back when you step in 2019 in the final because he broke his finger earlier in the tournament. He and Regragui come together. There are some heated discussions, shall we say. These are two coaches who have led their respective teams to remarkable success. Regragui has transformed Moroccan football and he has a chance to claim his crowning glory here. Meanwhile, it seems the players are being called off the park.
I think they should be very careful here because in such situations you could get sanctions that you might live to regret. These are moments where one has to be calm, and as players or as managers, you should not provoke or create and make the situation even worse.
There is an incident in the periphery. It is seemingly seen as a security concern, and the players are being asked to leave the pitch. There are still heated words being exchanged. There is much indecision. Achraf Hakimi, meanwhile, is over trying to separate players and coaches, showing that calm heads can prevail. But where we have come to,
there is a pool. Yeah, of course, you cannot deny that there's a contact there. There's a pool there.
Well, the indication is, would that be a foul outside the 18-yard area? I would suggest a good 99 to finish it up from the penalty mark potentially. Now earlier, Senegal had the ball in the back of the net and it was disallowed because of the contact that Seck made on Hakimi.
Yes. And you can see the outstretched arm that got Hakimi off the way. And in this other action here too, you can also see the outstretched arm of the Senegalese player also pulling the Moroccan player down. So now the question is it decisive enough to have stopped, to have impeded the progression of the player? That is for the referee to decide, and that's why he went to the VAR to check that out.
Well, the respective coaches are on the field of play for now. Regragui and Cho, they're making their way off. The referee is ushering them to the sideline. And they're going into the tunnel.
Now that is something I wouldn't advise them to do. Against the directives of the referee. That is something, if they have to go to the tunnel, it has to be a decision that the officials have to take.
This is also not how you want to see an AFCON career potentially end. Sadio Mane stays, a chance to a man who's coached at this tournament more than any other. Claude Leroy is out on the pitch. Sadio Mane, there are appeals for Sadio Mane to keep Senegal on the park, I suspect. And he's calling his players back. He's calling his teammates back.
Here, because this is not going to help because of the Senegalese, and furthermore the penalty has not been scored yet. So you don't know what could happen now.
Edouard Mendy is a great penalty shot stopper. He's a phenomenal goalkeeper. But Sadio Mane, the man who's got 20 goal contributions across 29 starts at an Africa Cup of Nations, 11 goals, 9 assists, and a man who has started more Africa Cup of Nations games than any other. Pape Thiaw is telling his players to get back onto the park.
Oh, Sadio Mane started. Sadio Mane asked the players to come back onto the pitch.
And that's leadership.
That's leadership. And
Alhaji Diouf, a word to Sadio Mane. Alhaji, and he continues to remind us that value doesn't lie in titles. It doesn't.
He's a hero. He's an example that people could. It's an example that people should can imitate. Now, when you see a player like this go, like the teammates are coming back onto the pitch now. If the referee blows a penalty, the rule says you have to respect the decisions of the referee. Furthermore, the penalty has not been scored yet.
You can understand the frustration, but it is certainly not something you want to see. Who scored in 5 successive matches to start against Comoros, against Mali, against Zambia, against Tanzania, and against Cameroon. Mendy backtracks. Brahim Diaz replaces the ball, and now perhaps the final to get underway again. Brahim Diaz to give Morocco the lead, chips up Panenka down the middle, and humiliatingly Mendy saves it. Stays on his line, the opportunity gone, and maybe now we are going to go to extra time. Robert roars and erupts, but for a very different reason than the one they considered they might.
Now this is how do you explain this? At such a moment, this is not a time to try to play Panenka.
He looks crestfallen. Brahim Diaz, who's proven nothing but heroic throughout this tournament and throughout qualifying. Strength in the world, maybe lost a yard or two of pace, Sadio Mane, but he inspires an attack. Senegal thrust forward. Pape Gueye! Sensational! Stellar! Supreme Senegal!
Look at this. The steal by Sadio Mane. This is a total complete counter-attack. And the way he strikes it, he was even falling out of balance when he struck the ball, but still able to keep the balance, to keep the ball low, which is difficult to do in that position.
That is the first goal that Morocco have conceded from open play since March last year against Niger. They are now in danger of losing the title on home soil to a Senegal side that claimed the Chan title against North African opponents on home soil just a couple of years ago. Thiaw was coach of that Senegal side then. The final whistle, and Senegal seal a sensational success. Sadio Mane becomes only the third player ever to win multiple AFCON titles, to go along with multiple CAF Africa. Final score in Rabat. Senegal have beaten Morocco to become champions for a second time. Pape Gué's goal in extra time deciding it.